Close one eye. Now close the other one and keep them shut. Everything you needed to stay alive just disappeared. You can't see the animal in the grass. You can't find water. You can't tell the safe plant from the one that kills you. You can't recognize the face of the person walking towards you or know whether they mean you harm. If this happened to you 50,000 years ago, you should have been dead within a month. You wouldn't have been. And the reason why is the most surprising thing about our species. Start with how common this was, because it was not rare. There was no clean water to wash your eyes with. There was smoke in every shelter every night for your entire life. There were infections nobody could treat, injuries nobody could stitch, and a parasite carried by flies that slowly scars the eye until it seals shut. That last one still blinds people today. It has been with us for as long as we have been us. And then there was simply age. Cataracts cloud the lens of the eye until light stops getting through. They arrive with time, and they are not fixable without surgery. So in any group of 30 people, there was almost always somebody who couldn't see well. And in a world with no glasses, no medicine, and no help, that person had a problem that could not be solved. Which raises the question the whole video is built on. A blind person cannot hunt, cannot forage, cannot spot danger, cannot keep up when the group moves. In pure survival terms, they are a cost with no return. One more mouth, carried by everyone else, forever. Every instinct we have about nature says that person gets left behind. So why didn't it happen? Here's the first piece of evidence, and it is 900,000 years old. In a cave system in northern Spain called Atapuerca, researchers found the skull of a child. The bones of the skull had fused wrong and grown deformed, a condition that today causes serious disability, sometimes affecting sight, sometimes the brain. The child lived to at least 5 years old. That is not survival. That is care. Somebody fed that child, carried that child, and protected that child every day for 5 years in a world where nothing was easy. And this is not one strange exception. In Iraq, in a cave called Shanidar, there's a Neanderthal skeleton, usually called Shanidar 1. He is around 45,000 years old, and his body is a catalog of injuries. A crushing blow to the left side of his, one that almost certainly took the sight in his left eye, a withered right arm, damaged so badly it was likely useless or amputated, injuries to his right leg and foot that would have left him limping badly. He was half blind, one-armed, and lame, and every single one of those injuries had healed. Bone doesn't heal in a week. It heals over months, which means that after the accident that ruined him, somebody kept him alive for a very long time, through winters, through hunger, through moving camp. He was not a Neanderthal who died of his injuries. He was a Neanderthal who survived them and then lived on for years. Somebody chose that, repeatedly. Now, some researchers push back on reading too much into this, and they're right to. A group with a decent food supply can carry an injured member without it being noble. Care can just be practical. But that objection doesn't help. Practical or emotional, the fact stands. They didn't abandon him. They could have. It would have been easier. They didn't. So what does a blind person actually do in a group like that? This is where the assumption falls apart, because useless was a modern guess, and it was wrong. Think about what a hunter-gatherer camp actually needs done in a day, and how much of it has nothing to do with eyesight. Cordage. Every rope, every net, every snare, every binding on every tool, all of it hand-twisted from plant fiber. It is slow, endless work, and it is done entirely by feel. Your hands know when the twist is right. Your eyes contribute almost nothing. Fire. Feeding it, banking it overnight, keeping it alive. Childcare. Holding, calming, watching over sleeping infants while everyone else works. And processing food, cracking nuts, softening hide, grinding, stripping bark. Repetitive tasks, learned once, then done by touch, for the rest of your life. Now the part people never think of. A camp needs somebody who is awake and listening. When your eyes stop working, your attention to sound goes up, not because of a superpower, but because it's all you've got left. A person who cannot see spends every hour of their life reading a world made of noise. At night, in the dark, when everyone's eyes are equally useless, that person is not the weakest one in the camp. They are the one who has been practicing, and there is one more thing, and it is bigger than all of it. In a world with no writing, no books, no records of any kind, the only place information could live was inside a person's head. Which plants heal, which ones kill, where water sits in a drought year. What the group did the last time the herds didn't come. who is related to whom, and which promises were made. That knowledge takes decades to build, and it dies with the person carrying it. An old, blind elder is not a burden. They are the library. Losing them is losing everything the group has ever learned. So the answer to the question is not that ancient humans were kind. It's something colder and more interesting than that. A species where the injured are abandoned loses its knowledge every generation. It starts from nothing, over and over. It stays small and it stays stupid. A species that carries its blind, its old, and its broken keeps its memory alive, and memory compounds. Everything humans have ever built rests on the fact that we kept the people who couldn't contribute anything except what they knew. Look at Shanidar 1 again, half blind, one arm, barely able to walk. By the logic of nature, he should have died in the year he was injured. He didn't, and 45,000 years later, we know his name, because the people around him decided he was worth keeping. That decision, made in the dark, by people with nothing, is the reason there is anybody here to ask the question.